Yo, what is going on, guys? J.Yumeko here, and today we're back with some more Katawa Shoujo. Now, we are going to start Lily's Route, but before we jump into today's video, I do want you guys to tell me in the comment section below what kind of game you would want me to see. You would want to see me play next. I have a couple of things in mind, such as Danganronpa, which I know may be a bit more controversial depending on how you view that game and its particular fandoms. But yeah, there is that as an option. And I mean, hey, there's some other games as well that I also have in mind. But if you guys have anything you want to recommend, then I'm completely open for that. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there, give you guys a little bit of choice in what I play here, because I want to make stuff that you guys are gonna want to watch. But yeah, without further ado, we are playing Lily's Route now. We finished Hanako's and we finished Emi's. At some point I'm going to have to go through and do Emi's all over again on my own time just to kind of get that 100% completion. But yeah, let's just jump right on back into it. We know the basics of the game, and we're going to skip past pretty much everything that we've already gone over in previous videos as a heads up. So yeah. Alrighty, so we are here finally. So it does seem that a lot of Lily's Route is actually this mixture between Emi's and Hanako's. So it's kind of like a back and forth between some of those scenes. So if you want to know some of the things that went down, then all you really have to do is go back and watch the other routes that I've played. Wink wink, nudge nudge. But yeah, so I just kind of skipped a little bit ahead, and so it seems like Lily's important bits are kind of scattered here and there, for now at least. So, let's go, without further ado. And that aside, I do want to catch up with Lily. Oh, here we go. Alright, so there's got to be something to kill time. Go for a walk. Following Hanako to the library seems a bit intrusive. There was a reason she left the classroom after all. And that aside, I do want to catch up with Lily. At the very least, I'd like to thank her for looking out for me despite her other obviously taxing duties. I guess I'll walk around town. With any luck, I should be able to find Lily. The exercise will do me some good as well. Walking through the school courtyard to the gate, I give a small nod to a couple of passing classmates, the gesture being returned in kind. Even from here, the shouts of the sports members can be heard. From the sheer volume of the din, the track must be packed by now. I remember what Lily said yesterday about being dropped right into the middle of a busy time for the school. While I'm trying to get my bearings and catch up on studying that I've missed, everyone else is doing normal school activities. The feeling of being a foreigner still hasn't dissipated, at least not yet. Well, I guess not everything's bad. This is a private school, and that much is pretty easily noticed when walking around outside. Not only are the grounds huge, but the buildings themselves are immaculate and quite divorced from the dime a dozen concrete blocks of public schools. There's also the fact that there's a much stronger feeling of community here, or at least a friendlier atmosphere. At my old school, it was generally accepted that people would keep it to their little clique and be done with it. Eventually, I reached the gate and began to walk down the road and into town. Sorry, I just needed to turn down the volume a little bit. Well, that was fairly productive. Having seen a fair portion of the town, even including the houses perched on the hills around the outskirts, I decided to take a walk around the park before heading back. Living in the city all my life, the total lack of smartly dressed businessmen and fashionably dressed girls strikes me as incredibly unusual. All that's to be seen here are the odd elderly person shuffling along the sidewalk and assorted busily chatting pairs of middle-aged women outside of the small storefronts. Walking along the road to the park quickly distracts me from them, though, making me realize that I perhaps pushed myself further than I should have to see as much as I could. As my breath begins to wheeze and my chest tightens more and more, I give up on the prospect of soldiering on. After a quick glance around the park as I enter, I take a seat on a wobbly old bench that I notice near a couple of vending machines. For minutes on end, I sit with my head bent forward, forcing myself to take deep breaths. I feel more like an old man than a teenager who should be in the prime of his life. The stay in the hospital, the surgery, and the medications must be taking the toll on me. Damn it. Eventually, my breathing returns to normal, and the muscles in my chest loosen, not without a fair measure of relief. I guess this means the end of my little sojourn, though, in any case. There's a cafe on the far corner, so I'll stop by to quench my thirst before heading back. A little bell above the door signals my arrival to an empty counter. For a few moments I stand there waiting, my eyes every now and then drifting from one end of the counter to the other, searching for a service bell. Eventually, a door some ways behind the counter opens, the person emerging from it taking me by complete surprise. Yuko? Hi, I had no idea you worked here. I really had no idea how to address her either, given that she's technically school staff as well as, apparently, a waitress.
Yes,
She quickly paces up to the counter before flinging her upper half downwards in an overacted bow.
Welcome to the Shanghai. May I take your order?
Straight down to business, I see. I don't know. Well, some coffee, please? That was horrible.
Yes, certainly. I'll make it right away and bring it to you when it's done.
Thanks. Yuko's formality takes me back. She seems to take her job very seriously. Obeying her instructions, I turn around and quickly glance around for a free table. Considering the cafe seems to be empty, this is a simple task to accomplish. As I walk towards a table adjacent to the window, I notice a flash of yellow around one of the table dividers. Sure enough, no more than a glance is needed to ascertain that it's a certain Satao at the table. That said, I don't recognize the suited figure across the table from her. Blonde, fair-skinned, and only a little shorter. He? She? I think she. Must be a relative. Since the two are all but silent as the suited figure takes a swig from a cup of coffee, I decide to greet Lily. Some part of my coming here was in order to meet her, after all. Hi, Lily.
Hisao?
Yeah, nice to see you again. The suited girl looks up, noting my uniform with a relaxed smile. Know each other? I guess. It's as good an approximation of our relationship as I can think of.
Care to take a seat?
She says this to the air beside me, but the message is clear enough, and I take a seat beside her.
I suppose some introductions might be in order. Hisao, this is Akira Sato, my older sister. Akira, this is Hisao Nakai, another Yamaku student.
Looks like my guess was correct. The newly introduced Akira gives a nod, which I return. What I don't return, however, is the almost analytical gaze with which she looks me over. As she does so, Yuko walks up to the table and carefully places the coffee on the table before bowing and taking her leave. Gently bringing my hand to the side of the cup, I realize that it's already at just the right temperature to drink. After taking a sip, the flavor turns out to be just as good as the temperature. Yuko seems a lot better at this than being a librarian. I take a good long drink before relaxing into the seats. It takes me more seconds for Akira's examination to come to an end. Apparently, becoming quickly bored with the activity, she returns to her sister. So, how's school recently? It seems Akira is entirely unconcerned with someone she doesn't know at all listening to everything they say. Not that I mind, leaving them to their chatting, I sit back and continue drinking the pleasantly aromatic coffee. Sounds like it's pretty busy for you then.
At least I'm not cooking your meals after school anymore.
As I talk, I slowly realize that I'm entirely unable to gauge Lily's emotion through her eyes, as I would for any other person. It becomes slightly unsettling as I subconsciously focus on that fact. Whoa, so cold. Were you just cooking for yourself anyway? I only ever got leftovers.
That's not the point. Are you managing to feed yourself at least?
I can cook without blowing myself up, you know. Mostly.
That's... It's fine. I need to learn sometime anyway. Lily?
Everyone present is momentarily distracted by Yuko, who places a cup of tea on the table for Lily. Taking the moment to glance at her watch, Akira levers herself off of her seat and gives me a quick nod. Well, I'd better be off. It was nice talking to you, Lily.
Akira, do you have to...
Lily looks genuinely mournful at her sister suddenly leaving. It does seem like she might have the wrong idea. Sorry, I need to get back to work. They'll be on my neck again if I don't make it back quickly. So informal. Akira's trim and tidy appearance would give anyone the wrong impression of her.
Bye, Akira.
Come on, don't look so down. I'll be around again soon. See yas!
With that, she waltzes out of the Shanghai with her hand held high. Lily still looks pretty depressed, so I try to make some small talk in an effort to take her mind off it. She seems nice. We used to live together, but now that I live at school, we hardly ever see each other. Despite Lily having been quite affable, I still don't really know much about her. In hindsight, it's surprising just how much she's extracted from me, really. You used to live together? Was it somewhere around here? It was pretty far south, so the trip into Yumeko was fairly long. With her working hours getting longer and Yumeko being so far away, there was little choice in the end but to move into the dormitories. Well, that explains the chatter about cooking. Evidently regaining her composure, she livens back up, at least in part. I take it you're better restored now. Sorry? You sound less exhausted than you did when you first came in. To be able to pick out my breathing like that, she must have pretty good ears. Yeah, ended up walking all over town, despite only planning on taking a short walk down here. Reminded me of my thirst from the walk. I lean forward to take a sip. Without further ado, Lily starts on her cup of strong-smelling tea. I guess I'd better get going back to Yumeko. There's only so long I can stall studying for, and I want to get a good night's sleep before the festival. Standing from my seat, I take this coffee-stained cup from the table. You're leaving? Yeah, you gonna head back as well? It's getting kinda late. For a moment she pauses, before lifting her face over her teacup as if she was looking at me. Yuko, could we have one more coffee, please? Okay, I'll bring it right away. That's not subtle. She gives a short giggle at my frank assessment of her maneuver. It's surprisingly childish and carefree, given her otherwise collected appearance. In the end, though, I have little reason to refuse. To be honest, I can hardly say no, all things considered. Giving a manufactured sigh, I take a seat opposite her. Wanting company, then? I'd say that it's more that I was wondering. I see she's in a questioning mode again. She does seem to be unusually interested in me, or at least curious. Do you have any siblings? Not exactly an unexpected tangent. Nope, only child. To be honest, the idea of having someone that close makes me a bit envious. Interesting. I raise an eyebrow, which of course goes unseen. The short silence communicates the question well enough. It's just that others have said the same thing before. It's a difficult subject to try and think about objectively, given that I've always had someone like that. I can mostly understand what Lily means, given that it would be hard to place oneself outside of a situation they've been in all their life. She and her sister must have a pretty close relationship. Taking pains to interrupt us as little as possible, Yuko dutifully comes over and places a cup on the table. Lily thanks her as I sit back, taking in this vexing girl in front of me. Despite always seeming to be on her guard and in control of herself when talking to others, she has an almost childlike curiosity about other people. That said, those rare moments she seems to slightly lower her guard are the most insightful into how she thinks. Reaching forward for my drink, I realize something I probably should have noticed earlier. I think I'm starting to become kind of curious about her. Despite making a good pace, it's already nightfall by the time I reach the large iron gates in front of the school. While it's nice to have plenty of time to wander around by virtue of living right next to the school, I can't help but get the feeling that very few students actually take the opportunity. Compared to the number of students I see milling around on campus during free time, it's startlingly rare to see anyone around town. Given the large number of accommodations and facilities that the school offers, many of them might simply not see any point in venturing outside, let alone people such as Hanako and Kenji. It makes me wonder if students like Shizune, Misha, and Lily are the exception of this school, rather than the norm. As I wander back to my dorm, I continue to compare my old school with Yumeko. As I do, I begin to be surprised that I managed to get even this used to everything that's happening to me. Alright, so this part that we're about to get into, we have gone over before, but I think because we're doing Lily's route, and this is a pretty significant portion of dialogue with her, I figure we might as well go ahead and do it again. So we're currently at the festival, wondering where we're going to start off, and we're going to start off with Lily's stall.
Sorry if you're gonna hear a lot of noise in the background, by the way. We're having people over and my dog is in my room, and now she's barking. Lily Stall is as good a place as it. Lily Stall is good. Lily Stall is as good a place to start as any. I'm curious as to how it's going, after all of the work she and her class has been doing for it. Stepping up to it, I begin to see why the class took so long to organize everything. Easily twice as wide as any of the other stalls, with equipment for cooking strewn everywhere. It's closer to an outdoor restaurant than a festival event. As a student in front of me takes a bowl of noodles and leaves, I walk up to the counter. The girl behind it seems quite exasperated and asks me to wait a moment before she disappears underneath the counter. Seizing the moment, I take a quick glance around. Steam seems to be rising from everywhere, as pots and pans simmer away. The most blind of the students are unpacking ingredients while being helped by someone who's probably the teacher of 3-2. It doesn't take long to notice Lily among them, talking with the teacher as she quickly counts out the boxes and packets with her fingers. From her expression, and the fact that both she and the teacher seem to be in a state of mild confusion, it appears that there's been some kind of problem in coordination. Before I can stare any longer, the girl behind the counter pops up again, only to look back and ask where the spare change box is. Lily pauses for a moment, before she and the girl switch places at the counter, and the teacher quickly walks off somewhere.
Sorry about that. We're having a few problems. What would you like?
Also, I will note that I probably have changed her voice, as I do with pretty much all of my characters after a while. It takes me a second to remember what I'd come here for. My eyes quickly dart to the side to read the menu sitting on the counter. Oh, I guess, miso soup?
Ah, is that Hisao?
Yep, looks like you're pretty busy. Her face all but confirms it as she drops her waitress facade.
Somewhere along the line, our order got mixed up. We're trying to figure it out now, but it looks like we only have half of what we need.
Won't serving smaller portions cover over the problem?
It seems like that's all... Fuck. It seems like that's what we'll have to do, though I wish we didn't. The fact that a good half of our class is gone doesn't help either.
I glance behind her to see how many people are actually operating the stall. It couldn't be over about 8. I take it that's why your teacher left?
That's right. She's going to try and round up a few more of our classmates to help.
Hearing the sound of footsteps behind me, I stealthily glance backwards to see an elderly couple taking a place in the line. I guess I'd better stop loitering around and chatting. Here's the money for the soup.
Soup? Oh, right. Coming right up.
Lily turns and calls for a bowl of miso soup as I hand over the money for it. Taking the coins in her palm, I can't help but notice how efficiently she counts them out with her long, pale fingers. Eventually satisfied that I've handed over correct change, she puts it into a small metal tray. It isn't long before the soup is made and carefully handed to her, after which she turns and subsequently passes it to me. Thanks. I'll come back to drop off the bowl.
Thank you, Hisao. Oh, there is one thing. Have you seen Hanako?
Hanako? No, not today. Why? She gives a small sigh of abject disappointment.
It's okay. I was just wondering what she was doing for the festival. You'll come back when you're done, then?
Sure. I'll keep an eye out for Hanako, too.
Thank you, Hisao.
I walk off from the stall and find a seat, carefully cradling the steaming wooden bowl in both hands. Compared to the dumplings from before, this is quite nice. A little cool compared to what it probably should be, perhaps, but the flavor is enough to cover for that reasonably well. As I drink, I can't help but feel somewhat guilty for not being as involved in the festival as the others. It can't really be helped, considering I was dropped into the school only a week ago, but it still weighs heavily on my mind. That and the fact that a few students don't really seem to be enjoying the festival as much as the visitors. Eventually, I finish my bowl and leave for the stall to drop it off. Considering that there seems to be no line at all, I take my time walking up. It seems the teacher's mission paid off. There are now over a dozen students helping, and much of the unpacking has been done. Despite most of them seeming quite relaxed as they work, Lily still appears to be somewhat stressed. Right, I know what I'll do. Even if it's just one person, I'll make the festival more enjoyable for her. As I place the bowl on the counter, I call out to Lily.
Ah, Hisao, you brought it back? Yeah, here. I slide it into her hands and she takes it over to someone who's apparently on cleaning duty. Considering that I didn't see them there before, it's probably a penalty for their tardiness. Hey, Lily. She perks up and returns to the counter as she hears my voice again, realizing that I'm still there. Want to go see some more of the festival? She puffs her cheeks disapprovingly. It looks kind of cute, and in complete contradiction to her usual reserved nature. It takes a few seconds for me to get what she's taking issue with. Whoops. I didn't mean to, Lily giggles at me, exposing her teasing for what it is. You're still not used to the school, are you? She got me. Still, I kind of need to stay with our stall. It's taken until just now to even get everything unpacked. I guess her reluctance shouldn't overly surprise me, considering how much work she's put into this. Everything seems to be running fine though. Everything seems to be running fine now though. Besides, you've got extra help on your hand anyway. A boy in the middle of cooking some soba noodles turns towards us, grinning. Go on, Lils. You've earned yourself a break. We can hold down the fort for now. If you say it's okay, then I suppose so. But if you need any help, then we'll call you. Go on, we'll be fine. Willie gives up her resistance as she waves the spatula at her. She feels her way around the back of the stall and picks up her cane on the way. I guess the first thing we should do is look for Hanako. Lily seems kind of worried about her, and I doubt she's the kind of person to enjoy milling about in crowds like this all alone. So, I guess we should search for Hanako. Where to first? The both of us go quiet for a moment to think. Maybe she's in her dorm room. I doubt it. She doesn't keep too many things in there, so she'd have nothing to do. Ah, the library. As good a place as any to search for an avid reader, I suppose. The library it is. We'll check there first then. Aside from the muffled sounds of the crowds seeping in from the outside, the inside of the school seems almost deserted. In order to make sure everyone had enough room, I guess all the events were organized to be held outside on school grounds. They're definitely quite large by any other school standards. It's nice and quiet in here, isn't it? Yeah, much nicer than the hustle and bustle outside. We take our time and slowly walk through the first floor of the school, eventually reaching the stairs to the second floor. I can't help but notice how Lily anticipates every door and obstacle, her cane remaining still and her hand skating along the hallway railings. You really know the school well, don't you? She smiles and nods straight ahead. I've been here for a few years now, so I know where everything is. The dorms still trip me up though sometimes. I haven't been there as long, and they're not as well laid out as the main building. If I'm remembering right, they used to be unused buildings before being renovated and used as dormitories. That explains why the male and female dorms look different from the outside, and why their rooms seem kind of unusual for sleeping quarters. I'd assumed that she'd been living in the dormitory since she began attending the school, but now I'm reminded of what she said yesterday. That's right, you mentioned that before. I'd assumed that most of the students here lived in the dormitories once they enrolled. A lot of them seem to, in any case. Lily's expression becomes somewhat harder to read, my question evidently touching on a delicate point. Well, how should I say? Everyone has their reasons. Something tells me that one of those with reasons is Hanako, hence her tiptoeing around the corner. My own predicament is yet another case. I guess it's a choice everyone here would have to make for themselves, or in my instance, have made for them. It can't be helped, I suppose. At least Yamaku itself seems like a nice place. It's good to hear you say that. I thought you were coming to dislike it. What about you, though? My reversal of Lily's statement takes her by surprise. I've been here for a while, so... It's not like that. You just seem pretty depressed about Akira. What's with that look? Akira's taken. Sorry, Hisao. Lily never sees how fast my palm meets my face at her sly accusation. Hey, I was worried about you. There's no way to respond to concern. While she gives me an amused grin, we round the corner of the hallway and enter the library. As we do so, it isn't hard to spot Hanako, considering that the room is completely devoid of anyone else. Given that there are no staff around, I guess there's no need to heed the usual library rules. I call out to her. Hey, Hanako. Hanako is here? As she hears our voices, Hanako's head flicks up from behind a book, probably the same one she'd been reading on Friday. Hisao? Lily? Just thought we'd drop by. Lily just managed to escape from the noodle stall with a little help. That wasn't really an escape. Hanako gives a small giggle, briefly surprising both of us. I just thought that Lily might not be enjoying the festival. Well, now we can enjoy it together, right? The two nod happily before we set out of the library and towards the festivities. I hand over some change to the girl behind the counter and take the 2 styrofoam cups of tea. I try to accentuate my bow a bit to cover for the fact that she's quite obviously deaf. Come to think of it, I probably should have asked for help instead of leaving those 2 in the gardens while I brought drinks. Trying to juggle the 2 cups of hot tea, for them, and a can of coffee for myself out of a vending machine isn't exactly easy. With some careful maneuvering, though, I manage to keep everything stable and upright as I walk over to the bench where Lily and Hanako are sitting and chatting. It's actually quite a nice place, lit only by the moonlight. It's tucked away some distance behind from the main events. Compared to how hot it had been during the day, this spot is also pleasantly cool by now. Not that it matters all that much. Most of the visitors have moved on to areas that are either closer to the fireworks or higher on the hill in order to view the display apparently planned. Welcome back, Hisao. Her ears are good. I'm not exactly close, and even Hanako hadn't noticed me. Here you go. Sorry it's instant, but that's all he had left by now. Hanako gingerly takes a cup from my right hand, and I gently place the other into Lily's outstretched hands. Did you enjoy the festival, then, Hisao? Yeah, it was pretty fun. An honest answer. Much of the food here had been somewhat subpar, but it was a lot of fun in the end, especially with Hanako and Lily. In fact, I think those 2 may have enjoyed themselves even more than I did. With both Lily and me around, much of Hanako's withdrawn nature and around others died down enough for her to enjoy herself. As we sit drinking, the whistle of the first firework rings out before it explodes into a vibrant shower of blue against the night sky, heralding the beginning of the end for the festival. Enthusiastic shouts can be heard from the crowds scattered around the school grounds celebrating them. For minutes on end, Hanako and I watch the fireworks overhead as Lily blissfully listens to them with her eyes shut. Red, green, yellow, star-shaped, circular, and patterned, and all manner of shapes and colors fill in the air, one after the other, and dance across the sky. No place near where I lived put on such lavish displays. Festivals like this were a thing of the past in such a metropolitan area. To be seen such a sight with these 2, it's probably the happiest I've been in a long while. So, that's it. The festival's finally ending. Yeah. She gives a delicate, wistful sigh. As much as I might complain about all the stuff we had to do, it's still sad that we'll have to graduate before the next J.Yumeko festival. I walk forwards and stand beside Lily, gently resting a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry, we'll still have time to bottle later in the year, right? You're right. It would be nice to go there when it comes. Minutes of silence pass, with only the blasts of the fireworks to be heard. Seeing these 2 reminds me of those words of advice Lily had given me as we walked into town together. Cherish the opportunity to make new friends, huh? Hey, Lily. She turns her head slightly to show that she's listening, Hanako's gaze still firmly fixed on the Technicolor fireworks bursting overhead. You mind if I join you 2 for tea every now and then? The smile on her face is more than enough to see her answer. It would be a pleasure, Hisao. Oh.
Oh. Oh, damn.
Oh, what is this?
Huh. Past. That's pretty interesting. Alright, we're gonna save it here. Wait, let me save first. Create new save state, continue. And we're gonna head back to the main menu. Very interesting there. Specifically that little ending animated bit. Cause it seemed kind of different from the others. In that, I don't know, I feel like there's something to interpret there. But I'm not quite getting a grasp on it, I suppose. I've never been too good at that. But there's definitely something there. And the whole vibe to it kind of felt a little bit sad, maybe. So I guess we're just gonna have to find out about her past and like, because that's what this one was. And I think with hers it's past, present, future. I think those are the acts for her. So yeah. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it and tell me in the comment section below what you would like to see me play next. If you enjoyed this video or any other videos or series on my channel, then I highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you'll be notified when those videos comes out. Anyway, that's it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.